Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you have joined from. So that reminds me, where have you joined from? So which country are you right now in? It's always good to know that. It's always good to see a good, global participation. So do let us know where are you from, and you can just punch down your country name in the chat window. And I'm going to call that out. So we have people from US, Brazil, Finland, US again. Okay, we have, of course, people from India. We have, okay, Bhanu again from India, Germany, UK. That is that is overwhelming. Great. Just to let everyone know, we have close to 150 people today. Singapore, so many of you, all SQL Server folks. Good to see you. All right, friends, this is yet again another webinar. We try to do each one webinar each Thursday, as you know. And let me answer a common question first. Is this webinar going to be recorded? Yes, it's going to be recorded and it is going to be available on SQLmaestros.com. There, when you log on to SQLmaestros.com, on the menu bar, you have a webinar section. So check out all the recordings up there. Now, from last and from previous webinars, when people go up there, they see that some webinars have a price tag to it. The recordings, some are free, and people had questions as to what is all that about. Some webinars are free, which means you can subscribe and you can watch those webinars absolutely free. It makes sense to take a free membership so that you don't have to really subscribe to each webinar. And with your free membership, you can watch all of them with a single login. Now, some webinars have has a nominal price tag to it. It just helps us to kind of run this show of community webinars each Thursday. But you don't have to subscribe and pay for each webinar. The easiest thing is you can take a premium membership so that you can watch all the free, all the paid webinars, and you can watch all the advanced tutorials. So, on SQLmaestros.com, we have a video lobby. So we have a free video lobby with free content, and we have a premium lobby with premium advanced tutorials. And there are a lot of video content out there. So with premium membership, which is an annual membership, you can watch all of that content absolutely part of your premium membership. And yeah, it's the premium membership also is very nominally priced. It's not high at all, but then of course there is some money that you're paying, and we just hope that it's worth it. So here are all the links for you in the chat window. You may want to copy them, put it somewhere in your OneNote or maybe just a notepad file, whatever you feel like. Okay, friends, SQLmaestros.com is the place where you will get access to webinars. We have live masterclass coming up, which is one of our most popular training classes online. Deep dive, 40 hours of deep dive SQL Server performance tuning stuff. You get to attend live and you get the recordings also for a lifetime. That's the beauty and the key highlight of our masterclass. If you're not a fan of live class, you can always take up the recordings. And then there are a lot of other learning solutions like all-in-one bundle video courses, etc. Okay, friends, so these are a few things. And of course, if you have any questions, please drop an email to contact@sqlmaestros.com. If you're confused, what should you take up? Because there are so many options out there. And yeah, anything you have, our team will promptly respond to your questions. I'm just going to put up the link up there. So yeah, and I've been lately doing a lot of training classes, private classes for companies, for a group of people. If you are one of them who's looking for a deep dive training for your team members, you can always drop an email to classes@sqlmaestros.com, and the other email ID is also up there. Okay, friends, let's get started with today's content on index analysis. In last few weeks, if you are watching our YouTube channel, you would have observed that I've been posting some content around unused indexes, redundant indexes, index consolidation, etc., etc. So what really happened in the last month was, in a few consulting engagements, so I do health check and I do performance tuning stuff with clients. Whenever their SQL Server is slow, queries are not performing well, we go and try to troubleshoot. So there has been a very common learning pattern. There has been a common pattern that I have seen across so many SQL Server environments, that there are tons and tons of tuning opportunities around indexes. Um, I mean, if we just touch the indexing area, there is so much of performance improvement that you can get. You have tuning opportunities in, everywhere in SQL Server. You talk about the T-SQL code, you talk about server configuration, the schema, the usage of data types. You dive deep into the execution plan, and a lot of opportunities will come up from there and how you can tune the query. So you will see that tuning opportunities are kind of spread across so many different areas. Now it makes sense to spend, uh, like in immediate short term, it makes sense to spend time with indexes. That what I've seen is because if you are putting your brain around indexes, a lot of performance issues get elevated, specifically the query execution time. That really gets impacted, that really gets improved because indexes solve like 75 to 80% of performance issues. And then again, inside indexes, in this region of indexes, you have like missing indexes, indexes that should have existed but are not there. You have a lot of redundant index maintenance going on. Getting rid of them will improve the performance of your modification queries. I'd seen a lot of all of that. Now, I thought, why not? So I have been posting videos around them, and I thought, okay, good opportunity. Why not consolidate all of that stuff and create this webinar? Now, when I was working on the demo for this webinar, I didn't want to break this webinar into multiple demos, like one demo for missing index, another for identifying redundant indexes, another one for unused indexes, and then another one for index consolidation. I was like, oh, that will be like too many demos, and it will be like, broken stuff. I really wanted to kind of put up a demonstration where I can show all of that to you with a single example. And I wanted to make that example, very easy to follow. So I came up with an academic prototype, which you're going to see now. It is very, very straightforward, and it is very, very simple. And there is a reason why I decided to keep it very simple and straightforward. It's very easy to overcomplicate the topic and the subject, like many instructors do, just to show, oh, how big things are, and to kind of highlight their importance in the world of SQL Server. But then really, if you dive deeper, the concept is relatively very simple and straightforward. So I have purposely ensured that the examples are not overcomplicated, so that all of you today out there in this session are able to follow it in a very simple way. Easily you could just like, you would be like, all this while you were wondering about these things, and these things turn out to be so simple and straightforward. And also respecting the fact that not all of you might be seasoned SQL Server experts with like 10, 15, 20 years of experience. Many of you are probably just getting started, or will have like 6 months or 1 year of experience. So keeping all the audience experiences in mind, I have made a simple consolidated example, and I am going to cover all of that. Okay, friends, so let's get started. Okay, so we are going to use AdventureWorks 2016 for the purpose of demo, as we always do. And there is a table here called person.person. Okay, I'm just going to pick up this table as an example. This table has a few attributes like last name, first name, email, promotion, and there's another one called person type. I'm just going to play around with these attributes. Now, typically what happens is, why are you creating indexes? You create indexes so that it can help one or more queries. It can help one or more workloads. And typically those queries and workloads are reading data, and they are embedded in reports, or, they're embedded as part of stored procedures, and the client application is calling that stored procedure gets executed on the server. It sends the data, the result set out to the client is displaying that data, that result set in a report, or in a client dashboard, or something like that. So typically we are talking about read performance. Indexes themselves do not improve query performance. They help They help the query to get to the data faster. Essentially, indexes are searching mechanism. Now, I don't want to really get to those basics of indexes in terms of clustered, non-clustered indexes. You have like the index in front before a book on the first page of the book. Then you have index keys and keywords at the back of the book. So you probably would have heard of all those metaphors. Our focus here is going to be non-clustered indexes because sometimes it's kind of easy to deal with clustered indexes because you can just have one clustered index per table. Sometimes that's an easy choice, not always, but most of the times. But it's really the issues with non-clustered indexes. You can create so many of them, and that's why you land up having all these unused and redundant indexes. So our focus is going to be non-clustered indexes. So what happens is you're creating indexes to help queries so that they can get to the data faster, and it in turn it helps in the overall execution time of the query. Now, again, to remind you, this is simple stuff. So I have just written this query, a very simple query here to fetch data from person.person. Let's assume that this is one of our business reports. We want last name, first name, and email promotion from this table person.person. And we punch down last name as one of the parameters. We say where last name is equal to Duffy. So this is our predicate, the where clause. Maybe it is embedded in a stored procedure, and stored procedure will take last name as the parameter. Of course, all of those things are things that you do and you can imagine. Okay, I wanted to keep it simple. So if you execute this query, and let's turn on the actual execution plan, jump over to the execution plan, SQL Server will tell you that, okay, first let's see what SQL Server is actually doing. So SQL Server is scanning the clustered index. Now, clustered index is the data. There is no good non-clustered index here. So SQL Server is going and fetching all of that from the base table. And clustered index scan means SQL Server Optimizer is touching every page of this table, the data page. And this is, of course, in most cases will be an expensive stuff. Imagine if this table was huge with like millions and billions of records. So, you're reading, this is causing a lot of IO. Lot of IO, we're reading, doing a lot of physical IO, for example, would in turn result in CPU spikes as well. Okay, so this is a no-brainer that you should actually go and create an index on last name. This is what even SQL Server is recommending. So you have a missing index hint here. So if I right click on this one and go to missing index details, you will see that SQL Server is telling me to create an index on last name simply because last name is being used here in the where clause. Now, am I telling you to go and blindly create indexes recommended by missing indexes, the missing index feature of this management studio of this client here? Well, I am not telling you to do that, but let me tell you, in real world, a lot of people do that. Now, this is a good starting point. There's nothing bad with this. Many people who are just getting started with SQL Server find it very helpful that, I'm getting a hint, I can use it and probably learn a little more as to what I should be doing. Seasoned SQL Server professionals would probably just look at the query and decide what index I should create. This comes from your learning, from your knowledge, your expertise and experience on SQL Server. For example, you got to know that which attributes, which columns are good candidates for a non-clustered index. So you have columns that are present in the where clause, columns that are used in join conditions, columns that are part of aggregate functions, things like those are good candidates for a non-clustered indexes. Now, of course, if you want a deep dive into index tuning and index analysis and all of that, please do explore our SQL Server Performance Tuning Masterclass, where we dive much, much deeper into all of these things. Okay, so now, so the summary is missing index hint is not bad. It's good. It's a hint. Someone is suggesting you something. Someone is giving you a tip. You might as well look at it and then take your own decision. What what I and what everyone, of course, what you don't want is just blindly go and create indexes. That is not what you should be doing. Okay. Now I see that it's telling me to create an index on last name. Now, if I really go and create an index on last name, I know that that might be a bit expensive in sense. What about other columns like first name and email promotion? Where are they going to come from? So I am assuming that if I create an index on last name, SQL Server will seek on that index, fair enough, and it will fetch last name from there, but first name and email promotion will again have to come from the base table. So SQL Server will do a key lookup. And in a larger table, this is a small table, but in a larger table, key lookup can turn out to be very, very expensive. So I definitely don't want, but okay, just for the purpose of demonstration and so that all of us are on the same page, why not let's go and just simply create this index, create non-clustered index. Let's just call it as idx temp. Okay. idx temp on last name. Let's do this. There you go. And let's go and run our query again. Now, if you run this and jump over to the execution plan, this is what we expected. Now, SQL Server is seeking on this index that we just created, IDX temp, but for the other attributes, it's doing a key lookup. If you take the cursor over key lookup, you, sorry, bottle cap was making a lot of noise. Okay, someone is complaining in a private chat window that the voice is not audible. Is my voice okay? Are you able to hear? I just had a bit of hiccup, but that's fine now. In the chat window, can you confirm is the voice is all good? Okay, so um, I don't know if someone is not able to hear me. How can I even? Yeah, if you're not getting good voice, maybe it's to do with your internet bandwidth or something. So maybe you could just rejoin again or use a different Wi-Fi. So coming back here, key lookup is fetching me these two attributes, first name and email promotion. And as I said, it's going to be pretty bad if you are dealing with a large table. And I'll give you a very quick example and the justification for that. Look at the number of executions here with key lookup. It's two. It's a very happy number because this iterator had to be executed only two times. Why? Because if you look at the result set, we just had two records. So when it got the first Duffy, it gets the first name and email promotion from the base table, first execution. Then it gets the second Duffy. Then again, first name and email promotion from the base table. So the key lookup had to be executed two times, which is fine. Imagine if there were a million Duffys. I'm just making it up. SQL Server might have other ideas, but it generally happens that you have thousands of key lookups happening on a huge table. That's where things go bad. So what I will do, I obviously get a hint from SQL Server Management Studio that there has to be an index on last name. So I will create my own index, idx1 person.person on last name. Let's do this. And then I am also including first name and email promotion as part of my index definition. This is a good feature. The include keyword here is a good feature. This is an example of a covering index. What do you mean by a covering index? An index that covers the entire query. Now, SQL Server will not have to go to the base table to fetch the first name and email promotion. These two attributes are going to be available as part of the base as part of the index structure. They are going to be available at the leaf level. So I'm going to create this index now. Let's go and run the query and let's see which index the optimizer picks up. Let's go and execute, jump over to the execution plan, and there you go. Now, this is probably the fastest execution we can get. Why? Because you have all the attributes coming from the index and there is an index seek also happening. So all good out there. This is a covering index. Mind you, covering index will give you fastest execution time, fastest search and get the data. But then it doesn't really mean that you just keep on adding covering indexes all the time. Because if you add more and more covering indexes, which means you are adding more and more columns in the include keyword, your index size keeps growing. And then which means it's occupying more space on the disk. An index which is larger in size, again, maintenance cost, storage cost, updation cost, and whatnot. Okay, so just keep an eye on those things. Now let's scroll back. So you have one index IDX1 now with last name, first name, and email promotion. Now there is another report. Okay, there is another report written by some other department which is kind of similar. So you want last name and first name again. The predicate also looks similar, but there is a small difference here. In this report, instead of email promotion, we are fetching person type. So let's go and run this query. If you execute this query now and jump over to the execution plan, again, SQL Server is using the index 1 that we created just now for the other query. It's smartly using that. But then for person type, it's again doing a key lookup. So let's say this is one of those critical reports. And again, you want fastest execution. Key lookup is probably a painful thing here. So what you land up doing is you create another index specifically for this query. And this index IDX2 is also very, very similar to IDX1, which means the index is on last name, but you are including first name and person type. Let's go and do this one. If I run my query here, will SQL Server use this index now? Let's go and check out. So jump over to the execution plan, and you can see, yes, IDX2 is being used. Good. This is what you want. If you want to watch the remainder part of the webinar and all the remaining demos, you can subscribe to the webinar on SQLmaestros.com and get lifetime access to the recorded webinar. All you have to do is just go to SQLmaestros.com, click on the recorded webinar section and get access to all the webinar recordings. There are many of them. Some of these webinars are free and some of them are very nominally priced. So the ones that you're interested in, you can subscribe to them and get lifetime access. Now, because there are so many webinars, subscribing to each webinar might be a bit cumbersome. So we have another option, which is SQL Maestros membership. So the first link on SQL Maestros says join. If you click on that, it will bring you to SQL Maestros membership. Things are very simple. There are two membership levels. The first level is free, where you get access to all the free webinars and all our tutorials and demos, more than 200, 300 demos and tutorials. All you have to do is just become a free member. You're paying nothing and you get access to all of them. So you don't have to go and subscribe to each webinar individually. Just become a free member and then explore the free video lobby. So if you go to the video lobby here, there is something called as free content where you get access to all of that. But then all of us are interested in advanced content, isn't it? And that is where premium membership comes into play. So the webinars that are paid, and there are many advanced tutorials and demos. If you want access to all of them, you can become a premium member and pay a nominal price, which is annual membership. Once you do that, you can explore the premium video lobby. If you go to the premium video lobby from here, or just go to the video lobby and click on premium content, you can see all the paid webinars and all the advanced tutorials and demos and get access to all of them with your annual membership. Anyway, choice is yours. There's a lot of content on SQLmaestros.com, and you can also explore the YouTube membership level as well. So you have free content on YouTube channel, and you can also join and become a member of SQL Maestros on YouTube, where you can pay a monthly fee, get access to all the paid webinars and advanced content. So in summary, you can go to SQLmaestros.com and become a member, or you can become a member on YouTube also. Becoming a member on SQLmaestros.com turns out to be a little cost effective with the annual membership in comparison to YouTube monthly membership. But anyway, choice is yours, whichever platform you wish to use. Happy SQL.